Well, here we are with a new wipe, which means it's time for more crafting guides. Now, we're only about a week into the wipe, so these things are going to be real volatile. Couple of rules to get out of the way first. One, I do not take into account fuel. Not going to get into a huge argument about it. I just have never done it, not for a very long time. It is easy to cover the cost, like 1 or 2 crafts cover it. It's too complicated to spread out with everything else, and your fuel costs vary based on player to player, whether you're finding it in raid, you're bartering for it, you're trading it, you get it from a task. Do you count this or that, or if you've used it in a craft? There's so many variables, it just mucks everything up. So we don't include fuel cost. You're free to disagree with that. You can go and count it if you want, but for purposes of this, we're not going to do it. And lastly, I use my progress, and that's important because I level up crafting and hideout management. That means my crafts are faster, and when I get Intel 3, my fee is lower. It's a huge deal that changes things around, and when it gets to be a really big variable, I'll talk a little bit about both parts of it. But for right now, for today's thing, there is no reduction in flea fee. I'm basically paying the same as you, but my crafts are going to be a little bit faster just because I tend to level crafting and hideout management faster than other people. So with those out of the way, we're going to get right into this and talk about specifically what crafts you guys should be doing, assuming you have the flea market and you can sell things. Now to do this, I use Tarkov Market. Just so you guys know, I know the guys over there, the guy that runs it. I'm a Patreon, so I have access to all this stuff. I'm not going to try to push it on you guys. It's a great tool for me, but I love doing economy stuff. I'm always looking at it. I'm always checking crafts, and I do content using it. So the $5 might not be worth it for you. It's entirely your choice, but that's where a lot of these graphs and stuff come from because it's easier for me to show you guys. So first thing we're going to talk about real quick is the Intelligence Center, simply because, yeah, it's easy. There's nothing to craft. You can make a little bit of money doing flash drives, but that's all you can craft at level 2 until you get some of these other tasks done, which require you to do light keepers. So these are kind of pointless. This craft, while it looks like it can make you money, you need to be very careful. It is 65 hours, and the prices on these 11 SRs are already starting to decrease and will probably continue to decrease. So just keep that in mind. It's a risk. You can craft it. Maybe if you have a 21 WS that's used up, it's a great idea to do it then. But otherwise, I would not plan on doing this craft. So that's the Intel Center. We're out of the way. Lavatory. Let's look at loyalty level 1 first. If you have loyalty level 1, there's not a ton you can do. Toilet paper. You can buy your toilet paper for under 12K. It's pretty straightforward. You can almost always sell your TP for like 8 or 9K. You're going to make a little bit of money. It's not a lot, but at least you're crafting, you're cycling, you're helping pay for your fuel. You're doing some other stuff. It makes you about 7,000 an hour. And even once you get to where you vendor it, it's okay. Hoses are all right. It's just a really long craft, but it's great if you're getting wires or tapes or tubes non-found in a raid because you die with them and you have in your secure container. This is one of the best things you can do with them is craft them into hoses. You need a bunch for tasks. You need a bunch for your hideout. They're great to sell and they last for a little while. They'll dive off over the weekend. They'll kick back up again during the week here for the rest of the wipe. And the next weekend, we'll probably see them really start to trail off and get cheaper. After that, you can do the LSZH helmets, things like this. They're okay crafts. I don't really recommend them. Scav backpacks, sure if you want, but they're just a little bit of risk. Once you get to level 2 or 3, your options really open up though. 2 mag cases. I just burn I buy blue fuels for between 40 and 50K. I burn them up. I turn them into mag cases. I sell the mag cases. You don't make a ton of money right now. You're making about 38K an hour, but I craft them overnight. It helps boost that flea market rating, which is how you get more slots, amongst other things. But I'm also cycling shampoos constantly right now. I try to buy my beers under 13K, which isn't too hard to do. You'll see them get a little bit more expensive from time to time. But if you see them under 13K, especially if you can get them like 10, 5, 11, 12, you're going to do okay with that as get your soaps for under 8K, 7,500, and then sell your shampoos for 16. Now, these are not going to last. These will get cheap here after a little bit. We'll see them get down in like the 12K range and this craft won't really make any sense anymore. But then later in wipe, they'll kick back up again because of like the ETG craft, the green stem barter will bring these back up in price. So just have to watch for that. The grenade case, this is not a bad craft. It's just not my preferred one because I'm not using metal fuel cans and it's really, really, really long, 16 hours. I want shorter crafts because cycling your crafts is how you level up crafting skill. You have to back and forth cycle crafts. I have a whole video explaining that, but I don't like these longer crafts. Once we do get into metal fuel cans and my crafting skill gets higher and it brings this down a little bit, then I'll start talking about these grenade cases, because usually for a while you can just craft them and sell them right to therapists and make decent money, and it's a good overnight craft. If you're at level 3 and you have a lot of stuff opened up, there are a lot of options for you here. Let me get everything opened up so we can see the profit per hour. The toilet paper's kind of bugged out here. Like I said, shampoo grenade cases are hanging out up there. Hoses are okay. Bleach, you can make money with. Now, you have to really watch what you're selling and what you're buying for. So alkali has been tough. It goes all over the place, but if you can get it down in these 20, say 25K, that's what we'll put in here for right now, 25,000. And then your sodiums, these again go all over the place. They got really expensive. Just ignore that. That's a spike. Usually they're right in that 25K range, and that's what you kind of want to get. So your alkalis and your sodiums for 25K. And then you can sell bleaches for like 16, 17K. It's not impossible. They're a little cheap from time to time, but if you get them for 60, you can sell them for 16K, you're going to make about 27, 28,000. And this is available on Lavatory too as well. This and shampoo are pretty much what I'm cycling right now, back and forth, just because it's easy and I only have to worry about a couple of components. Over at the med station, let's get to loyalty level 1. If you're 1, there's a couple of things that you can craft and do okay with. One is used hemostats. Keep that in mind. This is used. That's why I have 4,000 in here, because you can buy them or you get them out of raid and you can't sell them because they're non-found in raid. If you have a 1 out of 3 or even a 3 out of 3, you can craft these into found in raid ones and then sell them for a pretty penny. So keep that in mind. Right now, while meds are cheap, this is a pretty good craft. AI2s, you can just cycle these all day long, sell them for cheap. You know, even if you're selling them for like 2,900, which sometimes they get that cheap, you're going to make a little bit of money, and it's just something to keep going in your hideout and keep that crafting skill going and get that leveled up. It's not a lot of money. Might be more pain than you're worth doing, but that's what I'm doing. Or at least I was when I was at level 1. Once you get to level 2, ignore the mule, because you can't. I don't know why this is on level 2 med station, because you can't even craft this till you get crisis done, which is a level 48 task that requires a bunch of LEDXs and other crap. So ignore the mule craft. In fact, you know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a 0 in there so that it disappears and goes away, because we can't even look at it anyways. There we go. IFAKs. IFAKs are great. Not a ton of money, easy to craft. You get 2 of your things from your vendors. You get a lot of them out of rated scavs and stuff. Buy 2 pile of meds and then try to sell your IFAKs for at least 18K. Been pretty easy to do. These will get cheap. These will get down into like the 16 and 17K range, but it's not a huge deal. They'll still make you money, or you can just use the IFAKs and save yourself a little bit. It's entirely up to you. At level 2 is when you can start the overnight crafts. I do craft the defibs. You can vendor. You basically sell them to therapist and you make more money. You can just vendor them. I hang on to them. I'll sell them in a big stack here. I'll probably have like 10 or 15 of them by the time I do sell them. And that's just waiting for people to get the thick case barter, because once people get the thick case barter, you'll start to see these things bump up into like the 190 to 200 range, which they did here. I didn't expect to see it that soon. I didn't expect to see that on this graph, honestly. I missed it last night. But you do it up here, you can make a decent money. It's an overnight craft that runs all night and nets you the most profit as possible. Once you get to 3, though, you've got golden stars. You got propitols. And we used to talk about propitols, you know, crafting them 1 out of 10 and using them up. You don't even need to do that. You can straight buy all the stuff off the flea market right now. 32,000, 31,000 for ibuprofen, 50K for golden stars. Craft them into propitols, turn around and sell them, and make a ton of money. So the propitol craft, while at 2 hours, that quickly decreases. It's a good craft for money. Grizzlies, great craft right now. You just kind of got to sit on your grizzlies, which can take up some space. They do tend to sit around the 35K range, but I've been regularly selling them for like 42, 43, 44 in bigger stacks throughout the day. Again, the recycled Calic B craft is a great craft. It's good money. If you're at loyalty level 3, if you're at med station 3, you're able to buy these. So what I do is, if I don't use them up in raid, I make sure to hang on to the 1 out of 3s and then just turn them into found in raids and sell them for, 27, 28, sometimes 30,000, and that pays for 2 more hemostats just by itself. And then, like we talked about, the IFAKs, AFAKs. Caveat here is, if you're using IFAKs and you have one that's like 50 out of 100 or even 100 out of 100 and you're thinking about throwing it out, don't toss it unless you need the space for more loot, because you can craft these into AFAKs, the used up ones, and make a little bit of money out of it. So it's another one of those kind of recycle crafts. SJ6s, yes, you can make money with them, but it's a little bit, they're kind of a longer craft. You'll see these jump up later wipe. Once we start seeing them get into that 60K range pretty steadily, they'll be a better craft. Just for right now, they're not the best. And then again, the AA2s and defibs, which we already talked about. Meds are off the table for now. They will be more valuable later, but they're not really a great craft unless you have like non-found and raid augmentins. Then sure, craft them. You'll craft them a little bit cheaper than you can buy them, but that's up to you. Now at the nutrition unit, level 1, you really can't do anything. If you've got level 1 nutrition unit, you're probably just doing task stuff. You're either crafting Urskas, maybe you're using your used up water bottles and crafting some stuff, but level 1, you don't get much. Level 2, condensed milk. The condensed milk is a great craft early wipe because you can just craft it, you buy your stuff, and you sell the condensed milk right to Therapist or to Jaeger if you want to level him up. It's a great way to level up Jaeger's. The money thing to get Jaeger to like level 2 or level 3, I sell condensed milks to him that I craft. Yes, I give up a couple hundred rubles, maybe 1,000 or 600 or whatever it is, but that's much better than buying or selling shit off of him to try to level that. After that, you got slickers. The only thing I say is just make sure you get your oat flakes under 19. If you can get your crackers under 15 because you can buy them from Therapist or people are selling them cheaper, great. Or if you get them out of Raid. And then chocolate under 13 for now. And then slickers are going for about 8,800. We'll see these kick up. Slickers will get to be a much better craft a little bit later. Once more people get into needing to buy scav vests, that's what drives a lot of the slicker cost. That'll help out a ton. 3, you can do hot rods. Hot rods are great. I don't know how long they're going to hold. Right now at 19,000, you just buy everything else. You sell these at 19,000. You're going to do pretty good. It's a long craft. It's an overnight craft for me. And that's what it is. Whiskeys, you can make money with. It's kind of rough. These things go all over the place as far as price. If you can get them into the 45,000, obviously you're making a bunch of money. There will be a stretch in the middle of the wipe where these are a great craft as people are doing their thick case barters and stuff, and then it kind of dies off. With a shorter wipe, I'm not sure what's going to happen 100% with the, because we won't be in a normal wipe cycle, but we'll keep an eye on it. And when it changes, we'll do a video. Now, as far as other crafts to pay attention for, if you're like me, you're drinking water bottles between raids, don't finish them off. Get them down to like 1 or 5 or whatever out of 60s. Don't drink them up. And then you can basically come in here and say your water cost is 0 because, you know, your water cost is absorbed by your usage, if you want to say. And then a whole bunch of crafts open up for you. Things like vodka. You get 5 of these water bottles, buy your moonshine, craft a vodka, and instant profit. Great for level increasing your flea market rating as well. On top of that, you can do aquamaries. My kind of favorite lately has been kvass because it's easy. You can get these ameliorais super cheap. Right now the market's, I had 6,000 in there, but you can get them even cheaper than that. A lot of times you can sell these kvasses for a lot more than 19,000, sometimes like 21, 22, 23. And it's driven primarily by the TAC 30 barter, but great use for the water bottles as well as some of the others. You know, once Keck tape's really expensive right now, but it'll crash after a little bit. Once that happens, these emergency water rations become a great craft. Once Keck tapes are down around 20K, you'll make a ton of money doing those. But that's pretty much it for the nutrition unit. Water collector, just craft and sell. That's all I do. Throw a water filter in there. This alone will cover your fuel costs like 4-fold for a while. So if you've got one of these, just keep them running. Now the workbench, this is the complicated one. The easiest craft of all is power cords and wires. Just crank these out early wipe because you don't have to think about it. If you're really worried, try to get your power cords for less than 35K. But even if you're spending 40K on them, you're fine. You're still going to make decent money. And then just aim for over 18,000 on your wires, which hasn't been hard. This won't last forever. This will go for about another week, maybe 2. So get it while you can and just turn these over. Just craft wires, sell them. Switch to something else, do wire, just back and forth. That's all I'm doing. Red gunpowder, really handy craft early wipe because you can just vendor the red hawks to therapists. Kites are cheap, green gunpowder is cheap, matches are cheap. Vendor to therapist, you're still making about 30K an hour just doing that. You can sell it on the flea if you want for that extra flea rating, which is what I do. I take a little bit of a loss, but it helps level up that flea rating to get more slots. Another really easy craft that does pretty good is pliers to round pliers because again, you just vendor them. Buy yellows at under 10K. A lot of times you can get them for like 8 or 9K. You're gonna make 20K an hour. It's a fast craft. You can cycle them, one item, super easy to remember. And the same applies for magnets. This is one of my favorites because I buy the hard drives for less than 10K, and sometimes you can get them for 8 or 9. And then I sell the magnets each night in big stacks for like 28, 30,000, and you'll make pretty good money. And again, it's an easy craft. It's one component in, one component out. You're not huge stacks of stuff. It doesn't take up a ton of space. Great craft. It's all available at one. Excluding that, the two big things that open up for you too is obviously the Nixer craft. But if you're going to do this, make sure you use the barter off a mechanic, and I'll show you that real quick. Let me go to his barter screen here. For mechanic, I think it's on one. Yeah, it's level 1 mechanic. You've got this barter for the Wi-Fi camera. It is 1 electronic component and 1 power bank. So 35K is a little high. Usually they're a lot cheaper, sometimes like 25, maybe 30K. But that barter gives you the ability to make a bunch of money with Nixers. It's a longer craft, and you're shooting for about 75K on the Nixers, but that's the money for you. And that's 2. The next one, big one, is this APM craft. Now, there's 2 pieces to this. One, you get about 100 rounds from quests from Proper, I think, of SP6, but you can't buy it from him until you get to loyalty level 4. And so until you get there, you're depending on finding it in raid, which you will. You'll find SP6. You could sell it to Proper for 640 rounds per bullet, which is not bad. But if I find this, it goes right into my secure container. I'll pull out a serve kit or anything else because I know I can craft it into this 366 APM, and it's worth a ton of money. As an overnight craft, it will net you over 250,000 rubles right now. This will get a little bit cheaper. Sometimes you can get more. Sometimes I've been able to sell like 4,000 around, sometimes 4,500 around, 3,500 safe. It's come down a little bit cheaper as more people can do the craft. But that's available too. Remember, keep your SP6 if you find it. This is great for that. Then 3, the big one that opens up on 3 for you that we'll talk about is the PP ammo. Whether you want to use it or sell it, this is a craft. It replaces the old BP craft, which you couldn't sell BP on the flea market now, but you can sell PP. It's selling for 1,800 rounds, sometimes more. 62,000 out of a 14-hour craft doesn't sound great, but I want to point it out. A lot of people are going to craft this just to use it, but it's there. So overall, regardless of your level, you can see where wires sit here. Even at level 1, it's one of the better crafts out of your profit per hour, and it just gets better as you level up. So like if I go in here and I change my hideout management skill to 10 and crafting to 10, which we're not that high, but we're close, you can see that little change, it bumped me from 33 to 36,000. So just that little bit, you get a little bit more profit as you level up crafting. You get a little bit more out of each craft because you get them done quicker, so that efficiency gets better. So that's pretty much it. That's the crafting video. It goes a little long. We'll make sure we get chapters in. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We do these more frequently at the start of the wipe when the market kind of fluctuates, and with a shorter wipe, things might be all over the place, so we might have to do them more often. One thing I do want to mention though is I do these in a different format every week on my Patreon. It's not because it's behind a paywall. It's because I just straight upload them. I don't have to have editors. We don't have to do a bunch of fancy stuff like we do for YouTube. There's more in depth to them because they're made for the Patreon crowd. So if that's something that's interested you, head over to my Patreon, check it out. It's there for you guys, along with access to a Discord and stuff like that. But it's more just, you know, obviously because you want to support the channel, but trying to give a little bit back. Also my music, it's linked down in the description. It's free. It supports me. It's good lo-fi kind of background music. I listen to it all the time, streaming and doing. It's in the back of YouTube videos. It's available for other content creators as well. We don't do DMC takedowns or copyright strikes. We meant for the community to be able to use it. All we ask is that you attribute us in the description down below of either your stream or your YouTube video, kind of like how I do it. Well, we'll wrap her up there. Appreciate you guys watching. Remember to hit that like and sub button. I wish you the best of luck in your raids, and we'll see you in Tarkov.